Hi, welcome to Karen K Reviews. Today I'm giving my thoughts on Foundation, Season 2, Episode 9, Long Ago, Not Far Away. In this episode, the AI Cleon the First tells Dusk and Rue a piece of Demerzel's history. Salvor crashes Telm's ritual, and Day and Demerzel arrive on Terminus. Day is displeased with what he finds. So these are my thoughts. As AI Cleon tells the story, I can't help but assume that his perspective is skewed. For example, did everyone actually love him as he said, or is that something he was told? Also, did his parents not know about Demerzel? It's interesting that Cleon the First seemed to have the desire to lead a normal life, which would explain why some of the clones also have that same desire. Finding out the history between Demerzel and Cleon answered a lot of questions and raised quite a few for me as well. It explained why Demerzel ripped off her skin in season 1 in one of the latter episodes. Also, she couldn't harm Cleon the First, but it is possible. But is it possible she turned a blind eye to the DNA tampering in season 1 so that she could harm the clones later on? Did she know she could harm the Dawn in season 1 that ran away, or was it a test? It was ironic that Cleon the First referred to the clones as half men, since a lot of the brothers seem to be searching for a way to distinguish themselves or to live fully. I thought, well, there's the truth straight from the horse's mouth. Half men. Also, what is Cleon the First planning now that he knows about the possible end of the genetic dynasty? While watching the scenes with Demerzel and Cleon the First, I actually found myself rewinding and watching them multiple times to decipher who manipulated who. I felt that Demerzel manipulated Cleon the First into eventually freeing her, but she seemed to have developed some type of love for him since she didn't harm him as soon as she was free. But then he programs her into loving him and basically imprisons her into being the true empire. I kept trying to figure out who had used who, but in some ways, they were and still are to some extent in a long term game of chess in a similar way that Empire and Day, specifically, and Selden are. And with Demerzel's military leadership experience, it adds a layer to who she is as a person, who she truly is, and the tactical skills she could use to gain her freedom. Next, we have Gale and Salvor's escape from Ignis. We know that saved Gale, but what has their escape triggered? Also, how is Harry back? Is that really Harry? Does water revive people like him and Calais? Why was Telem so afraid of the mule? Also, since she's been taken out, she is probably not the mule unless they find a way to transport her consciousness into someone else. I still think that Josiah becomes the mule later, but maybe not in the way that I predicted earlier. Throughout this episode, Dave belittles Demerzel. He basically keeps reminding her that she is not human. He even says that the humans should decide what happens to humans, but according to Cleon the First, he's not really a full person either. Also, I feel that Selden has figured out Demerzel's true role as he kept addressing her decision making instead of Day and talked about the future that she could create. Demerzel seemed disappointed in both Selden and Dave for their choices that led to destruction. Cleon visiting the church and seeing how the message truly worked and caused belief unleashed his true nature, even though he attempted to restrain it throughout this episode. He is wrathful against anyone who respects a concept or another person more than him. So his ego took a few blows this episode. The church, Selden standing with psychohistory and letting him know that he was not an outlier who could make a significant impact, and of course Demerzel's remarks. And it seemed that he wanted to just prove everyone wrong. To me, Demerzel saying that he was nothing and very lowly, truly, caused him to act irrationally to mend his ego and showcase his power by breaking down the Invictus on the Foundation. I also think that he enjoyed making Bel Rios call an order that would cause his partner's death. Seeing everything crashing down shocked me, and seeing the shots of everyone staring up and accepting their fate, and of Polly on his knees before Selden's casket while the ground around him broke really added to the shock value and the fear that all is lost for the Foundation. Or is it? Will some of them survive? Will Selden intervene in some ex machina way? He seemed fairly confident in the technology of the Foundation. Will Harry, Gale, Salvor, and possibly Hober Mallow and Constant have to begin a new foundation from the ground up? Or could they do it separately in two places, and that is how we get two foundations again? Is the destruction of the first foundation a direct consequence of Salvor telling the other Harry about Hober Mallow? Can Demerzel sense that something has happened on Trantor? Dave thinks he has won, but really he seems to have completely lost Demerzel, and now Bel Rios may feel more compelled to find ways to rebel. Overall, this was a fantastic episode and a great penultimate one. I appreciated the theme that things of the past can still impact the present because they do in our world too, and also the continual question of who actually has power. Honestly, this episode could have stood as the season finale, but I can't wait to see what happens next week in the actual finale. What are your opinions on this episode? Comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.